Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and become a part of the Dream Team, and turn on your notification bell so you won't miss any upcoming videos. Hey, have you picked up your copy of The Mysterious Language of Dreams yet? In this book, I go more in depth about dreams and dream interpretation than I do on my YouTube videos. I talk about the depth dimension of dreams, dream layers. I talk about the time dimension of a dream. Also, dreams and the imagination, which is quite interesting. I also have put over 40 real life actual dreams that people have dreamt in the book for you to practice your interpretation skills. Also in the back of the book is a dream dictionary with over 400 dream symbols. So I've left a link in the description box below where you can go and pick up your copy of The Mysterious Language of Dreams today. Have you ever looked at a clock or a watch or your cell phone, and at that precise time you saw the number 1111? We're going to talk about what seeing 1111 can mean. This video is inspired by Major Media Productions. So Major Media Productions, this is for you. They wanted to know what seeing the number 1111 means. Many of us, including myself, have seen this number at any given time on a clock, on our cell phone, at the exact time we're looking at a video on a computer. We see the number 1111. So what could this mean? Well, I believe that the number 1111 is a sign. So we're going to talk about that. What is a sign, or what are signs, biblically speaking? So in the book of Acts, the 2nd chapter and the 19th verse, God says, "And I will show wonders in the heavens above and signs in the earth below." So a sign is authenticating or confirming something that God has said or something that God is doing. So a sign authenticates or confirms something. And so I believe that this is why there are so many cases and so many people who see the number 1111 at any given time. You may see the number for a week, every day for a week, and then not see it again. And then maybe 6 months later, you start seeing it again, this type of thing. So at any given time, many of us have seen this number 1111. And I believe it's a sign. Now, you have to keep in mind when a large number of people are seeing the same thing, then that means that the message is not necessarily a personal message to the person that's seeing it, although it could be, but it's on another level. It's a global or universal message as well. So it's a message that speaks to an entire region or nation or even the world or a particular group even. So the fact that so many people have seen 1111 speaks of, God speaking to a large number of people or the world or globally. So 1111 speaks of time itself. In Matthew, the 20th chapter, there's a parable that Jesus tells of a man who hires workers to work in his vineyard, and they start working very early. He agrees to pay them a certain wage, and they begin to work. And as the day goes on, Jesus mentions that at the 11th hour, the employer hired more workers to work in the vineyard. And he agreed to pay them the same wage that he was going to pay the workers who were there earlier. And so at the end of the day, when everyone was getting paid, the workers who were there earlier thought it was unfair that the man was paying the workers who started at the 11th hour the same wage. And now the 11th hour would be around between 5 and 6 o'clock our time. So it was in the evening. And so Jesus ends the parable by saying, the last shall be first and the first shall be last. So this speaks of the end times. And so I believe that we are the 11th hour generation. In other words, the generation right before the coming of Christ. So the 11th hour is the last hour actually of the day in a 24-hour period before a new day begins. So midnight, we know, starts a new day, and 11 o'clock is the last hour of the day. So I've heard, and I'm sure you have, many of us have always heard, I have ever since I've been born practically, that we're living in the last days. And I absolutely believe that. We're not only in the last days, we're not only in the last day, but I believe we're living in the very last hour of the day. And so I believe that we are the 11th hour generation. We're the generation right before the coming of Christ. In the book of Genesis, it talks about Joseph. And Joseph, we know, was the 11th son of Jacob. And we know the story of Joseph and how he ended up saving Israel from famine at the time. He was second in charge to Pharaoh, Pharaoh's right-hand man, and how God used him mightily to save Israel and save the land. So Joseph is a representation of the 11th hour generation. I believe the 11th hour generation God is going to use to draw people into God's kingdom. They're going to do mighty works. They're going to fulfill their purpose in the earth. And so I believe that seeing 11:11 could signify that we are in the 11th hour, or we are the 11th hour generation of people. So, as I said earlier, seeing 11:11 could have a personal meaning to the dreamer, or it usually, because so many people are seeing 11:11, it usually has a global or universal message or a body-wide message. Also, 11:11 can speak of transition. So we know the number 11 itself, one of the meanings of 11 is transition. And so it could be speaking of how God is transitioning you from one season into the next, or transitioning the world from one season into the next season that's to come. Also, keep in mind that when you see double numbers, that has significance as well. In the book of Genesis, the 41st chapter, where Joseph is interpreting Pharaoh's dream, he mentions how God gave him the dream twice, or he had the dream twice, or the dream was doubled, which means that the dream has been established by God and it was shortly going to come to pass. So anytime we see a doubling of numbers, that means that whatever the numbers are speaking of, it has been established, it has been confirmed, it's surely going to happen, and it's going to happen quickly as well. Negatively speaking, the number 11 could be speaking of a time of judgment that is coming as well. So that's a negative meaning of the number 11. So when you see the number 1111 again, or even 111, because many people see 111, it's the same thing, you would ask yourself, am I prepared at this moment for the coming of Christ? Is he truly my Lord and Savior? Also, when you see 1111, you should know that you're in a season of transition, that God is transitioning or shifting you from one season to another, or he's shifting the world. And we know many different world events that are taking place right now. We can absolutely see that. So a transition is taking place in the earth as well. It could be a reminder to pray for the conditions that are going on in the world, and to pray for others who might be going through hard times at this time, and many are. Have you seen the number 1111? If so, how often have you seen that number? Leave it in the comments section below. I'll talk to you all next time.